Hi guys, I am Giacomo from Il Caudio Store. We are here with Gur from TipTop Audio. He show us what the new things of the art module from TipTop.
Yes, I will actually show you everything. We have stuff that just came out on the Buchla front, the project that we're making with Buchla, and modules that we are releasing on our own lines, which are mainly the polyphonic modules. And maybe we start with the Buchla. I know a lot of people are interested, especially in this guy. So this is called the 248 multiple arbitrary function generator. It's a big module. You can see it starts here and ends here. It's almost the entire row. And it's a very interesting module because it does a lot and it does it in a unique way. And therefore it's really hard to describe it as a single function. So I cannot call it a sequencer, but it is a sequencer. And I cannot call it a quantizer because it is a quantizer, but it's actually also a sequencer, and it's also a programmable multi-steps arbitrary time controller. There's really so much going on in this thing.
Strange brain of
Mr. Don Buchla. Exactly. When we started working on this, I was, to admit, I was a bit skeptic if we will be able to make it, because we are not aware of any fully working 248 that is out there. So we were unable to have one in our hand and actually work with it. But we do have is a user manual that, as far as we know, Don Buchla wrote himself. And it's very interesting because Don Buchla usually never wrote manuals for any of his modules. It's usually just be a little bit of a description and he would just like use it, you know, and you figure it out yourself. And on this one, he went actually very specific with a lot of details. And from that, we were able to extract a lot of information. We worked with people like Todd Barton and other people that were wonderful and were happy to share their knowledge and experience, you know, from people that they know. It's really like an investigation to get to know this module and how it works. And eventually we came up with this prototype, which is the first prototype we made. It's about 80% working, let's say most of the functions. If we look at it, it's built from 3 sections. This is one section, which is the faders, that with them you can select the voltage that you're going to see on the output. You can select scales. You can select, if you want to have a slope, a voltage slope. You can select if you want this specific stage to have a voltage from internal or from an external source, any of the 4 jacks here. And this can create really complex output, because you can imagine that on each stage as it goes, it can output something completely different. And to program this, you are using this area over here. There's all these switches, and these are used to set the voltage ranges. These are used to set time ranges. These are used to set areas within here where you can set, like, I want to do a loop of just this section or just that section, and you can actually jump between those 2 sections. And here you select what you want to have on each of those stages. For example, this switch says external or internal, where if it says external, then you can select with the fader any of the A, B, C, or D here. Wherever the fader is going to be that signal passing through. Okay. Now over here is the outputs, and there's 2 sections here. It's section 1, section 2, if you want to call it that way. They don't really have numbers. It's just like they're there, and they are like a clock generator. And each of them feeds from the same stack of faders. So what you're getting really is that you have two clocks that are feeding from the same source, but they are at different timings, and they can be combined or they can be separate, and it creates really, really complex outputs. So when we start the project, you know, on paper it all sounds kind of like, well, how would that compete with modern sequencers, digital sequencers that are so capable, right? But then when we build it and we start using it, it's like, wow, it's really super interesting and very intuitive, and it's really not that hard as we imagine it will be to use. And I'll be honest that it happens with a lot of the other modules in the Buchla line before, where we watched them, it was like, oh, okay, this is a dual oscillator, you know. But then when we start using it and it's getting integrated into the whole system, you understand that this really fulfill another function that was not available yet, and it's really working so well with everything else in the system. So that's the 248. The second thing is the 230. It's this little module. It's called the triple envelope follower. You know, envelope followers, I think most people know what they do. The nice thing about this one is how sensitive it is. It's the response to the voltage coming into it, the audio coming into it, is really wonderful. I mean, as you would expect from a Buchla, right?
For experimental music, experimental strange things of.
For sure, yeah. And you know, most people think that this is like, oh, I would use the microphone for that, but you can actually use audio from the system itself and feed it back on itself, and it creates super interesting things. So again, a little module, but another piece in the puzzle that help, you know, complete the system.
Yes.
So over here we have, we are continue building our polyphonic modular synthesizer. It's the world's first, and we are very happy and very proud of it, of course. So we just released and start selling the Vortex 6, the Octopass, the Octastages, and the Octagain, with a few of the utility modules as well. And from here on, we are now developing more modules that are taking this concept into territories that are beyond a classic synth. Because with those modules, you will get a PPG synthesizer. And it sounds wonderful, it sounds great as itself, and many of our users just patch it and tell me, I patch it once and I'm happy and I'm good. It just sounds great. But modular is all about patching, right? That's the fun. So, so we are making more modules now. For example, this is the Octo LFO, it's a new module. And the Octo LFO is 8 independent LFOs. So, and they have a CV out, a polytip CV out, and that CV out can go to any of the parameters on the other polyphonic module to control. So that means that if you're playing a note, you have one LFO at one speed with one shape, and then when you play another note, you can have a different LFO, a different scale, a different shape. And
this is really, really cool.
It breaks the
multitimbral.
Exactly. So it becomes, instead of just polyphony, it becomes really multitimbral, because when you start modulating each voice dramatically different, they change so much that all of a sudden it's not anymore a polyphonic synth, it's a stack of many monophonic voices. And since they are in an harmonic relationship, because you would usually play the chords and things like that, it creates something that mixes very well together, without need to fine-tune each voice like that. So the Octo LFO has a lot of features. It has a shape control, it has a speed control, phase, offset, scale, and that's for each of those LFOs, 8 of them. Also, it can be triggered from the notes from the gate-in, polyphonic gate-in. It can be synced to external clock if you want it on a beat. It has a lot of wave shapes, and there's an SD card here where you can put your own wave shapes in it. So it's really endless as far as like what you can do with it in terms of modulation. Then we have a new module. which actually complement this one as well. It's called the multi-pass filter.
Okay.
And the multi-pass filter is, in its core, it's the OBX filter, a redesign, not a redesign actually, a remake of that filter, because it's the same schematic as the original. And we're talking about the OBX, not the OBXA. There's a difference between them. And the nice thing about this is that, first of all, it sounds great all by its own, but the original had a fixed gain stage. So it will, the audio will come in and come out at the same volume, and that's what you get. Here we extend it widely. We have a gain input knob, and we have a gain output for each of the bands. Okay. So low pass, band pass, and high pass, and you can even mix them together. So you can open
really,
all of them.
cool.
Exactly, at the same time.
It's multimodal filter.
Exactly. And because we can do all this manipulation with the gain levels, the filter really reacts differently for every different level. And that's quite amazing. So you get a lot more from this filter than you would get with what was in the original. Maybe we can hear that. Let's see. Open up the two envelopes. So it has this beautiful creamy sound. It's just
Really beautiful.
Yeah, really beautiful. And the fact that you have so many polytips over here, it's just asking to be modulated. So now you can take the LFO and plug it in here and have all kind of variations.
Type of modulation if you want.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And now it's really starting to become modular in the sense that you can start patch things in not just the normal way, but in a weird way. You can take a patch I've been using a lot lately is I'm taking the audio out from the VCA and feeding it back into any of those inputs to get all kind of interesting sounds. So the whole polyphonic thing is start to, take shape and become like a system, a modular system, and not just a collection of few modules that create a polysynth. And we're very happy about it. And the last module that we are now releasing is the resonator.
Okay.
And the resonator can be used on anything, from drums to drones to anything. This is the resonator of the Polymoog from 1977, if I'm not mistaken on the date. There's 3 resonators in here. Each one has its own gain. And just like I explained earlier about the multipass, the gain is a very important factor about how the circuit reacts, especially on filters because they have a feedback loop.
Yes.
So the gain either overcome the feedback or added to the feedback. So this one has a volume in, has a gain for each of the band, gain input, and has a volume out. So you can really play with everything to make sure that your sound, whatever you found something that works nice for you, it doesn't clip. Because when these things clips, they sound not so nice, kind of like a pop, because it's a very sizzly type of sound. Now each of those resonator has a high pass, band pass, and low pass. So all 3 of them. This is something that wasn't in the original. The original had just a high pass, a band pass, and a low pass.
Okay.
And they were fixed. Here it's fully open. And there's 9 CV inputs on all of this. Now you might ask yourself, why would we make this module? It mainly came because now that we have these beautiful pads and big sounds from polyphony,
yes,
when you run through the resonator, it starts speaking. So that was the main reason. But we're in modular, so we start adding drums in there and all kinds of stuff. Like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
It makes cool stuff. So this is what TipTop have at Superbooth 2025.
This is beautiful and really, really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gur.
Thank you for coming.
See you.